The Ragin Cajuns sign another player to their transfer portal class, and it's going to help them in the defensive room. Let's talk about it here on Ragin Rundown. What's good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into another episode here on Ragin Rundown. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick. If this is your first time making it to the YouTube channel, please hit the bell down below and subscribe to the channel. If this is your first time listening, please follow the podcast feed wherever you get your great podcasts so you know when we're dropping episodes on either of those platforms. And in today's episode, we have another update on the Ragin Cajuns football team with their transfer portal class as they have signed another player. We'll talk about him. We'll kind of break down a little bit what might be left in the portal for them to focus on, and then give you a quick roster breakdown as we've done multiple times in the last few episodes that we've done. So on, I believe it was Saturday of this week, because today is Monday, Martin Luther King Day, and happy Martin Luther King Day as we celebrate all that represents. I believe it was that Saturday that I got word that the Ragin Cajuns had signed another player to their transfer portal class. And obviously, they had already announced three of them: Princeton Malbrew, Jason Mitchell, and Broderick Stewart. All of those guys added to the class. But unofficially, yet officially, we found out that they are adding another player defensively, Tito Chikere. I believe that I'm pronouncing it correctly. I found a video of his mom pronouncing it. So I believe that that's the right way to say it. If it's not, we're going to figure out how to say it, because he is now a part of the Ragin Cajuns. He is an East Texas A&M transfer defensive end, and I know I tweeted when I announced it that he had 2 years of eligibility remaining, but it's actually just 1 year. I got the year that he came out of high school wrong. I got it confused, or so to speak. So he will have 1 year of eligibility remaining, and in his only season at East Texas A&M with the Lions, he totaled 34 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, and a sack, playing in 11 games with the Lions. And so a little bit more about him. He originally came out of high school as a 3-star recruit, and he was ranked as a top 100 defensive end in the country. And he was from the Houston, Texas area, Sugarland, Texas, to be exact, from Kempner High School, Fort Bend Kempner High School. And in that time period, he was able to put on some great numbers in his high school career. He totaled 52 tackles in 2 seasons on varsity. He had 22 career tackles for loss and 10 career sacks, and he also forced 4 fumbles. So he was a part of the 2021 class. He also had offers from Mountain West programs like New Mexico, Air Force, and Wyoming. But out of high school, he would end up signing with the Fresno State Bulldogs. And he would spend the 2021 season and the 2022 season with Fresno State. He would then enter the transfer portal, and he would land at Prairie View A&M, which is back near his hometown of Houston, Texas. So he went back home to get a chance to get back close to family and potentially get an opportunity to play. However, in his 2 seasons at Prairie View A&M in 2023 and 2024, he only played in 5 games and had just, 1 solo tackle, assisted 3 tackles total in his 2 seasons there. So he transferred again. He lands at East Texas A&M, and that is where he had his best season with the stats that I just rattled off to you: the 34 tackles and the 1 sack, and then the 2.5 tackles for loss. So it puts the Ragin Cajuns in another position to continue to add depth, like we've talked about in so many previous episodes. And, I got a chance to kind of talk to Tito just a little bit. I reached out to him through social media to, first of all, confirm that he had signed with the program. I had other people to also tell me that he had signed as well. And even though that the spring semester has started for the Ragin Cajuns, they are still able to enroll up until January the 26th. So he has time that if the Cajuns continue to add players in the portal, including guys like Tito, they can still enroll into the spring semester to be eligible for spring football coming up this year. So I reached out to Tito and, I asked him what was his reason for signing with the Ragin Cajuns, because each one of these players, as I've told you and as you heard, in the previous episode with Princeton Malbrew, as I've told you with what I've talked about with Broderick Stewart and what I talked about with Jason Mitchell, all of these guys kind of seem to be on the same page when it comes to the philosophy and the mindset of why they were joining this program. And it kind of aligns along with what head coach Michael Desimo is trying to build as well. And so, to my surprise, he sent me an audio message. And so I'm going to let you hear that in its entirety so you can be able to understand why it is that he came here. And, one of it points to the relationship that he was able to build with Coach Dez on his official visit.
The reason why I chose Louisiana, man, I feel like it's close to home. Family played a big part in it. My mom being at the games, family being there for my last year. And also, man, just me and Coach Mike D just really hitting it off, man. Like, from the second I saw him, like, me and him are both Catholic. I showed him, a picture of me and Mother Mary. My mother's, like, she's always trying to, put the Catholic faith on me. So we really hit it off on there. Our love for the game when we were eating at walk-ons, what I'm saying, just the love of the game for football, what I'm saying. And when I was in the meeting room with him, to end the visit, we just talked about, man, just the goals that we had for each other, what I'm saying, for this season. And we really lined up and had the same goals, which is really, really crazy. He talked a lot about how, like, he wants his daughters and his wife, what I'm saying, to grow up in the city of Lafayette, what I'm saying, and have that championship brought to Lafayette, what I'm saying, and, like, having his family to be able to witness that and experience that. And I wanted the same thing. I want a championship this season. What I'm saying? Like, I want to be able to be in a culture, man, where everybody's accountable. What I'm saying? And everybody is, coachable in that aspect. Everybody wants the same thing, and we're working towards the same goal in hopes of achieving our individual goals that we have for ourselves. So I feel like me and Coach Mike D really, really hit it off, man. And I know this season's going to be a great one.
And funny enough, reading the article that Kevin Foote of The Advocate wrote with Tito, where he got a chance to speak with him, he had spent time at a UL football camp. He didn't receive an offer, but one of his fellow Houstonian buddies, Cam Whitfield, who is from that area as well, they went to schools that were about 25, 30 minutes apart from each other. Cam Whitfield ends up getting the offer. Obviously, he has 5 seasons that he plays in the Vermilion and White. And Tito ends up going to Fresno State. And he said, he wasn't salty about it, but it's kind of a full circle moment. And he talked about, interacting with Coach Giuliani and how Coach Giuliani remembered who he was. And that goes back to what we've talked about in so many other episodes of just how the staff and the culture that this entire program is building towards is not just about a transactional feel. They are not about, hey, you're just a player. We want you to come in. If you can't win, if you can't produce, then you mean nothing to us. That they are trying their best to let these guys know that they care about them. And as a result, a lot of these guys are willing to fight, scrap, and claw, and are not necessarily, having a mass exodus out of the program every single year, despite the transfer portal. You had 10 guys to leave, and that was not as bad as what it could have been. So you don't leave as unscathed. And I think that that is because of the culture that this program has built, and it has a feeling of guys that care about their players and that they're not having a whole lot of turnover and having staff members leaving and players leaving and all of those things like that. So how does Tito Chikere coming to the program, how does it shake out for the defensive line as a whole? So Tito plays the edge position or the jack position, again, similar to what Cam Winfield, Drennan Fight played as well. So you bring him in, an experienced player. You also have an Ashley Williams, a Notori Brown, a Devin Franklin, those guys kind of in that area. And then you also have, Devin Franklin is a high school signee that they brought in. So you have 4 players from the high school ranks that you've signed: Devin Franklin, Jordan Pinnock, Xavier Waters, and Ty Dominic are the 4 players that you have that you signed in high school. You have two portal guys in Broderick Stewart from Tarleton State and then Tito Chikere as well. And then what you return, you have Lance Williams, Priest Ash, Jeremiah Holtz, Ashton Wright, Corbin Ashmore, Chase Edwards, D'Antonio Lejeune. I think I pronounced that correctly. Chase Howard, and then, like I said, Ashley Williams and Notori Brown. So in total, that is 4, 8, 12. You have 16 D linemen now. So I think that is kind of an area where you're pretty much set. You have guys that you've brought in now in the high school ranks, which they can still add. And I'm sure that they're going to continue to recruit as well. You also have to keep in mind that as they're continuing to build this roster out, you have up to 105 scholarship offers that you can give. That number went from 85 to now 105. So you can have more guys in total, but you're getting more towards that 105 number now because of, at my last check, and I'll count this in a few seconds for you guys to make sure. But I believe that there are 98 guys that they have total on the roster now. So that would mean that you only have 7 more full scholarships that you can hand out. And then from there, everything else would be preferred walk-ons from there. So you're looking solid in the defensive line room. You have experience in there. You have youth in there. You have guys in the program that have been through the program that have experience touching the field as well. And like we know in previous years of what we've seen, the Ragin Cajuns like to rotate defensive linemen in different spaces. So as many times, and not to mention Princeton Malbrew, when he signed as well, let us know that he would be bouncing from inside linebacker to also, the edge position as well. And he was an edge rusher coming out of high school at Lafayette Christian. So you have him in the mix. You have 2 other portal signees. You have 4 guys out of high school, and then you have all the guys that you're returning to your roster as well. So you're pretty set in terms of depth there on the defensive line. So I'm going to take a quick timeout, and when we come back, we'll do a quick roster breakdown, and we'll talk about what the Cajuns might be trying to do as the portal has officially closed. But now the next big day that is coming is National Signing Day, which is on February 4th, and we'll talk about it when we come back here on Ragin' Rundown. So the transfer portal officially closed on Friday, January 16th. And as we are recording this episode here on MLK Day, January the 19th, we are officially about 15, 16-ish days away from National Signing Day, where things are fully set to shake out. And from my count, this is not official, but this is just me nerding out and putting together a large spreadsheet and looking at what Louisiana would be returning, what they signed, and what they have in their transfer portal class. They have 47 players on offense, 47 players on defense, 4 specialists. So in total, they have 98 roster spots that are in total. My count could be off. This is not official, like I said. This is just a good count, or as close of a count as you could possibly get to what the total may be. And like I had mentioned previously, you have 105 scholarships that you can officially give out to guys. And that's not to say that you can't have other walk-ons, but there are 105 guys that you can have officially on scholarship. So with that in mind, Louisiana is still looking to dabble into guys that are in the portal. Even though the portal is closed, that does not mean that guys have to officially sign. Again, National Signing Day is on February the 4th, so they have time, another 2 weeks and maybe 2 or 3 days to still try to get guys on campus, have official visits with them, and bring them in to see if they fit exactly what they want in their program. So for what I believe is going to be something that the Cajuns could potentially look at, offensive line is pretty much set. Your quarterback room is solid. Your running back room, I feel like they could go and get another running back, but from what I have heard and what I have seen from their, motions of what they've done during this transfer portal cycle, I don't believe that they're going to add another running back to the roster. Defensive line wise, like I mentioned, you're pretty solid there. You're pretty much set at the DB position. Cornerback room is pretty stacked, and the safety room is pretty stacked as well. But I do think maybe adding another inside linebacker, somebody, whether that be at the Sam, the Will position. I think you're potentially good kind of there at the Mike position. Obviously, you're not going to have as much experience as what you did last year in terms of returners. You're going to have a lot of guys back that played a lot of snaps, like a Colin Jacob, a Cody Jackson, and so on and so forth. But in terms of true penciled in starters on your depth chart, guys that probably came out and got a lot of moments with you in terms of starting the games early on. Defensively, you have Brent Gordon Jr. that comes to mind. You have Marion Ilium that comes to mind, and after that, it's kind of pretty much it. I think from there, Chase Edwards started a couple of games for you, but then from there are a lot of guys kind of in behind that have played a lot of reps, but they haven't been the first guys running out, so to speak. Offensively, pretty much you got Sheldon Sampson coming back. You've got Jaden Johnson coming back. You've got Caden Jensen coming back. You've got Brock Chappell coming back. Offensive line wise, George Jackson is going to get the medical red shirt. Matt Broussard, Cooper Fordham, Caden Morrow, Jacoby Isom. Obviously, Lunch Womenfield being your biggest piece. And then after that, you have guys that have gotten moments to play that are in. You got like Raji Dennis, Landon Baptiste, Kadarius Wade, Stephen Blanco, Darrell Smith, JJ Garner. The list goes on and on. Landon Strother, Trenton Chaney. Those are guys that got reps in sparingly throughout the season, but are going to be pretty young for you coming in. So I think that the Cajuns will have enough to maybe add one or two more portal guys and maybe a high school guy. I do know that they did make an offer to Alex Munoz, the Turlings Catholic quarterback, who is also the son of tight ends coach, and assistant coach or associate head coach, I believe, George Munoz. He did get an offer from the Cajuns, a preferred walk-on offer, I believe it was. And he had a very solid senior year, so that is somebody that you add as a depth piece that could potentially be something further down the line for you as he progresses in his career. His senior season, he was the district offensive MVP, first team all district. He had 45 total touchdowns, 3,000 total yards, with 2,200 of them being passing. He had a 66% completion percentage, 815 rushing yards, 19 rushing touchdowns, 26 passing touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. So a very solid senior season for Alex Munoz. So that is one offer that I did see. I also remembered seeing that Marcus Lovings gave an offer to a player. I cannot remember where it is exactly at. If I can try to pull it up real quick while I'm recording this episode with you guys, then I can tell you exactly who it was. But I do remember seeing it come across my timeline. But I have so many tweets and things that I see over at the time, I may not be able to get to it because this is going to be consistent swiping to try to find it. So I'm not going to worry about it. If I remember it, I will try to bring it back to you guys' attention so I can mention that to you guys again. But we're not going to worry about it right now. Just know that the Cajuns are still actively pursuing guys in the high school ranks, and then are also potentially dabbling in the transfer portal ranks to fill out these handful of more spots that they have to round out their 2026 roster, which will have a lot of youth along the way, but experience in guys that have been able to touch the field throughout their collegiate careers. So that is going to wrap up this episode here on Ragin Rundown. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for doing that. Can you do me a favor and also leave a comment, because that helps us to grow? That's one of the fastest ways to help us grow. Like the video, share it with someone else. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the bell down below and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on podcast feed, please go ahead and follow the podcast feed and leave us a review so you know when we're dropping episodes here on Ragin Rundown. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick. We'll see you guys next time.